It's my understanding that all 50 states have some form of Good Samaritan law on the books. And as you know, these laws are there to take away an obstacle for people just to care for people, to just do what they can do in situations of emergency or trauma or whatever it is. And the law is basically that if something goes wrong, they can't be held liable, I find that interesting. That's probably only one of many obstacles that go through our mind in that moment. Now, two things. I don't think that you can legislate trying to care for people at any time in life, especially in those times when people need it most, and we're just going about our business. I don't think you can legislate it, but it's an attempt to take away an obstacle. But secondly, the fact that these laws are called Good Samaritan laws shows you how deeply this parable of Jesus is in the consciousness of people. People of deep faith, little faith, or maybe even no faith. They know something about this parable, the Good Samaritan. But there's a danger to let it all be horizontal, like just the care for our neighbor. Let's remember the context. The man asked Jesus the burning question of our heart. How do I live forever? How do I live eternally? Most of us, I think, can be afraid of death. We don't often want to think about it, but if we're pressed and we're honest, we don't want this time to go on forever. We want something more. Our hearts know we're made for something more than just more time. We're made for eternal life. And this is the context of this parable. And in some ways, I hope for you, I know when it comes to me, I feel really relieved. Like it's a big question. And yet the answer seems so simple. Love God. Love Him with everything you got, and love your neighbor as yourself. And in some ways you say, okay, I think I can do that. I think I want to do that. But we all know that we can get a little complicated in it, can't we? Or make it complicated. And in fact, this man, in his honesty, wants to set some parameters to this. It's simple, but it's hard. So who is my neighbor? I want to hold up three phrases that I'm very drawn to that I hope can help us to understand how we might respond to this call of Jesus. The first is the phrase, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart." Now, that seems simple, but it seems to me if we're going to love God with all our heart, then we must love Him with a whole heart and a unified heart. Now, maybe to understand this, think about trying to love with a divided heart. I think we all know that experience. I want it, but I don't. I'm torn inside. Or think about trying to love another person with a numb heart. What do you feel? I don't know. I don't want to feel. How well am I going to love? Or maybe more importantly, loving God with only a part of your heart. I think if we're going to love God with all of our heart, I hope we can be honest about this, it means we all need to be healed. Because when we have loved, we've been hurt. And sometimes we don't acknowledge those parts of us. In fact, what are those parts that are unknown in your own heart? Or maybe cast out? Or maybe there's a part of you that you exile to the shadows of your consciousness. You don't even want to be aware of that part of you, so you just push it down. But the call of the Lord is to love him with our whole hearts, a unified heart, a heart that's being healed and more free, to give him what's deepest, what's most creative, to give him my weakness. I have to love him in my weakness. I hope you might see how this first point is related to the second. And the second phrase that I'm drawn to, because maybe of the force of repetition. Jesus is a master teacher. And the force of repetition can catch you. And we're told, what did that priest and Levite do? They did the same thing. They passed by on the opposite side. It's like they put as much distance between themselves and this man beaten, left for dead, alone as they possibly could. Now, you've heard me talk, and I think it's very important that healthy, discerned boundaries in relationship can be loving. This is not that. In fact, what this reminds me of is a young man who a couple weeks ago when I was walking with in spiritual direction, he used a phrase that caught me, partly because he was so honest about it, but it's had me thinking. And he said, I'm at this place in my life where I don't want to exile people anymore. And I thought, boy, isn't that interesting? How can this happen? Well, we bump into each other. We're hurt, we're disappointed, we're unseen, we're unlistened to. And we just find it so much easier to just exile that person, family member, coworker, neighbor, exile them emotionally, maybe even geographically. I mean, some of the greatest pains that I walk with parents is when their adult children, some reasons they can see and some they can't, just cut them off. And it seems to me that we can't love God well when we exile part of our own hearts or we exile other people. So if it's true to say that, how do I love well? Well, I always got to be in the process of being healed. It would also seem that we also have to be in the process of ongoing forgiveness. Giving back people space, giving back people grace, giving back people benefit of the doubt, not looking at them through the hurt and keeping them on the opposite side of my life. Third and final phrase I'm drawn to, again, the force of repetition. What did this Samaritan, the good Samaritan, do, essentially? He cared. Did you know that word is used twice? He actually cared to stop. We're told his heart was affected. The word used for compassion here is what happens when a mother gives birth to her child. It's like part of her heart is living outside of her. He moves towards him. And we're told he cared for him. And then what's more, and by the way, Ambrose, Augustine, Jerome, Gregory, all the fathers of the church, they said the Good Samaritan in this parable, who's the Good Samaritan? It's Jesus. Who's the man left for dead, numb, half alive, half dead? Me, you. What's the oil and the wine? It's the sacraments. It's his care. And what is the inn that he brings him to? It's the church. And he uses that same expression, take care of him. I want to just play this out. You might imagine that when the man's physical wounds are healed, he's ready to go, he's healed. I would propose there's a whole different layer of healing for this man. Imagine going about your business and robbers come and strip you and beat you and take what's yours and abandon you. That's traumatic. And I imagine in being cared for and being resuscitated to fullness of life, not half living, not part of my heart, that care is going to involve someone listening to him deeply, receiving him, understanding him. You know, it really is a beautiful thing that the church, you and I, are called to surrender ourselves daily to a God who's nurturing. As a mother comforts her child, so will I comfort you. Cast your cares on me, because I care for you. And it almost feels like what's at stake in doing that, and not just the parts of ourself we're satisfied with. The good, the bad, the ugly. Here I am, Lord. I need you. What's at stake is how well we are a nurturing church. Do we listen to other people, like deeply? Here's where the first point of loving God with all your heart and passing by on the opposite side, I think, are so related. If you exile certain parts of yourself, certain emotions, certain faults, certain behaviors, and you're not curious, you don't befriend yourself there, you alienate yourself there, you're going to do the same to other people. The people who are most healed and freed, they can go anywhere with people. Tell me about the worst. I'm not scandalized. I'm not scandalized. That sounds traumatic. But you know what? You're loved there. I'm happy to go with you there. I just want to encourage us. In my experience as a priest, all of us, but there are even so many hearts not here this morning who are aching, basically crying out for someone to just care for them. Not on the surface, but on the level of the heart. Someone to listen to their story, the parts of their story they're not comfortable with, the parts of the story that's hard for them to tell. So for someone just to receive them deeply there and to look at them with this gaze of love like, you're okay. You're a child of God. You're blessed. You're loved. You and I are called to receive this healing and to be instruments of this healing and to not be afraid.